Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased that you've been able to join us for our Spotlight session. I'm Stephen, and I lead on the delivery of ReferKent and work within the financial hardship team at Kent County Council. It's just a reminder, if you need any help with any aspect of ReferKent, do send us an email at referkent@kent.gov.uk, and we will try and help you with that. But I would like to introduce you to our speaker for this afternoon, who's Yen from SignHealth. And Yen's going to give us a presentation now on the services that SignHealth offers. Over to you, Yen.
Hello, everybody. Hello. And it's really lovely to see so many people in this webinar. I'm really grateful and really great. Bear with us with the technology. Sadly, we've had a few issues. Thankfully, Stephen has saved the day and he's going to share the slides for me, but it's on a PDF, so we're going to be scrolling up and down. We've got Catherine and Mike, who are my voice today, and will be signing back for me. I'm really excited, and I know that the time, we've got a bit of the time lapse here, a bit worried about the time, so hopefully I'll get through this and we can ask some questions at the end. So it'd be really great if you could put in the chat your name and your role and your any contact if you want any more information from me. We offer free workshops. I'll let you know a little bit about that through the workshop, through the presentation. But if you wanted anything, please do put those details in the chat for me. Okay, so I'm Yen. This is my sign name, and it links to my personality because it's about love, really, and that's my sign name. And also we have SignHealth, so I work for SignHealth. And that's what I want to talk about, really. I want to introduce the service. So I'll show you our aims today. I'll talk about what my role is. I'm a domestic abuse navigator. So we have different sections, different areas of our work, and you know, I work specifically with the clients. I go out and run workshops. I think we've got one at the end of March, and then we're waiting for some more funding to come through. Okay, can we go on to the next slide, please, Stephen? Thank you. Scroll us up. So our organisation, SignHealth, basically our aim is to improve deaf people's well-being and health. So we've got 5 main areas of service, and they are psychological therapies, specialist social care, children and young people, campaign, and domestic abuse. That's my team. Psychological therapies, really, they're skilled counsellors who are skilled working with deaf people, deaf culture, deaf knowledge, and they're able to work with the deaf person directly without having to go through an interpreter. We have specialist social care. So we have 6 specialist homes within the UK that support deaf people with extra needs. It's empowering deaf people to live independently, to live out in the community, or to live in the residential care. One of them was set up in 2023. The Children and Young People service was set up in 2023, so it's still quite a new service. So we have seen a real closure in deaf schools and deaf clubs, and so it's really difficult for deaf children to find their own space, to access information, to really explore their own identity. You know, many of the schools now are mainstream, so they're having to go through a hearing education system without sign language. And it's really, you know, for example, a lot of our young people didn't realize they had a right to vote. You know, so it's about educating and empowering our young people. And then we have campaigns, and really, oh my goodness, deaf people are at their wits' end, if you like, with an NHS, with all kinds of different services, which are absolutely brilliant, but the access for deaf people is really difficult. And we face barriers in all of this. So at the moment, one of the campaigns that we're really trying to help get our weight behind is the access to work. There are so many government cuts going through at the moment, which is really going to affect deaf people as well as other disabled people. My area, domestic abuse. So in my team, we have IDVAs, and CSW, community support workers. Can we go up to the next slide, please? I've jumped ahead, I realise. I've gone on to the next one. So objectives, we've gone objectives, next. Next one, please, Stephen, after the objectives.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So really, the issue that we have within the UK is that many deaf people aren't aware of domestic abuse services and domestic abuse. Really, you know, there isn't that skilled information out there that's accessible to deaf people. It's not open and in the mainstream. So mainstream services, again, very inaccessible. You know, if you imagine you're trying to flee from a domestic abuse situation, you know, and you go to the police and you try and talk to the police on the same day, and there isn't an interpreter there, so you're unable to tell them what's going on. And so deaf people are really inhibited in being able to tell their story and disclose to anybody. And what's really, really sad is that most everyone will experience some kind of domestic or sexual violence within the deaf community. And in 2023, recently, we set up our sexual violence support service for victims of who've experienced sexual violence. Okay, I want you to put the answers in the chat. Okay, so there's some questions here. So how many hearing women do you think, do you mean a percentage? In a percentage, yeah, hearing women who have experienced domestic abuse? A percentage of the population. Don't be frightened to put it in. Just give us a guess. Give us your best guess. I'm not going to say, oh, you're wrong or you're right. You know, there's no judgment here. Okay, we've got some interesting numbers up there. Okay, so let me ask you another question. How many hearing men do we think experience domestic abuse? Again, some interesting figures coming up. Some quite high figures as well. Some people are saying 60%. Okay, so the next question is if you can give me the percentage of disabled people that you think experience domestic abuse. Okay, Stephen, if we go up to the next slide, you might be able to see the answers. Is that okay? There we go. So hearing women who go through domestic abuse, we're saying 25%. We're saying 17% of hearing men experience domestic abuse, but half of the disabled people experience domestic abuse. So can we go up to the next page, please? Thank you, Stephen. Oh, sorry, that's not the page I was looking for.
Okay. Is that one okay?
No, she's saying she's made a mistake. She thought there was an extra slide in there. Not to worry. So when we're looking at disabled people, we're looking at half of the disabled population experience domestic abuse. And within that deaf community, the deaf community is a very small community. And so, of course, then we're looking at very high figures there as well. And then add to that the inaccessibility to mainstream services. Can we go with the next slide, please? And maybe I should have said this before when I did our first introduction, but we work with 6 areas within the UK. We have our IDVAs, and our community support workers, and our domestic abuse navigators. So those separate roles cover the support for deaf people within England. Sadly, we're not in Scotland or Wales at the moment because we don't have the funding to work there, but we're really hoping that that will change. Can we go up to the next slide? Thank you. A little bit further. Yeah, next one. We'll go up to the next one. This is the slide I was looking for. I think I've just rearranged them in a different order. Sorry.
Okay.
So we're saying disabled women experience, half of disabled women experience domestic abuse. So if you think about the disabled community and then think about the deaf women within that disabled community, it's a very small community. It's already very small. And then the idea that if you're thinking about disclosing that information to anybody, then actually most of the people within your local community, your local deaf community, will know you and will know who you're disclosing about. So that information is usually, you know, it's just so difficult, isn't it, to be believed, to be confident enough to say that, to be brave enough, and then to then be able to take it further when actually those people are part of your community and very close to you. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So I love this little image. You know, I know that, you know, for the hearing population, it's not a smooth journey through domestic abuse. There are barriers and there are difficulties, absolutely, to disclosing and getting support. But then we need to add to those barriers when we're looking at deaf people. You know, I mean, deaf people really have struggles. I mean, for me, every day, if I want to book a dentist appointment, you know, they don't provide interpreters at the dentist, so I have to take a member of my family with me to interpret for me. You know, or they'll say to me, you have to book an interpreter. If you want an interpreter, book it yourself and pay for it yourself. You know, it's like, hang on a second. Hearing people don't have to do that. You know, there is no equality. We don't have access to so many services. And it's a struggle, you know, the barriers that deaf people face every day to just things that should be accessible, that you would class as normal everyday things. You know, we have to go through to get these things. And so, you know, one of the things that I said before was we had issues with the NHS. So we've actually managed to get, you know, the NHS, we've been campaigning for a very long time to say that actually it's our right as deaf people to have an interpreter. And we've changed that situation through our campaigning. And thankfully, now if I go to the GP and they say, no, you have to pay for an interpreter yourself, then I can say, hang on a minute, look at this, you know, look at this, right, look at this. But we're having to campaign for everything again and again and again. I mean, it's not just over interpreter access. You know, for example, if you go into the GP reception area, they're not very deaf friendly. You know, when I walk in, you know, straight away, you know, sometimes it'll have your name on the room and to say that you're coming in, which is great, and the room number, which is great if it's got a visual display. But sometimes, you know, the receptionist will just shout out your name and which number of room you're supposed to go to, and of course I can't hear that. I don't know, and I could be sitting there for a very long time watching people come and going, you know, waiting. I can't hold my phone, I can't look at the phone, I can't, you know, read a magazine or anything. I'm concentrating, trying to lip read this receptionist who's not really speaking to me at any point, you know, speaking just in case I miss my name. You know, is it my name she's saying? Is it my name? You know, just that, you know, the anxiety, because, you know, if you miss that appointment, you could be weeks waiting for another one. So, you know, just simple things like that we face every day. And those small things pile up and become a really heavy weight. And we call it death fatigue. Can we have the next slide, please? Next. And the next one again, please. This is a 2-hour presentation that I'm sharing with you. So I'm really going to cut it right down, because otherwise I'd be signing so fast that the interpreter would get her tongue tied. So we'll go on to the next one. Again, please. That's it. Perfect. Brilliant. So we have the IDVAs and the IDVAs. So we're basically supporting deaf adults face-to-face, helping them navigate the whole support system. So, for example, if somebody's going to the police, maybe the police are going to the house, or they're going to getting social services involved. Also, we have a freedom program. So people who have survived really domestic abuse and sexual violence, then we look at their freedom program, how to encourage them to be empowered and to get their confidence back. We're not an interpreter service. We absolutely do not provide interpreters, but what we will do is signpost you to where you can get the correct support. You know, so if you're looking for social services or you're looking for an interpreter funding, you know, we can, if the deaf person is a resident in Kent, then we can definitely advise and signpost you where to go for that. Do I have any, Stephen, have I got any time left? I don't know how long I've been going for.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, there's plenty of time.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so what do we do? So we offer the free workshops in Kent. So if you know any, maybe people who are, you know, they don't even understand what domestic violence is, what domestic abuse is, or, you know, just, you know, refer them to us and we can provide that service. We can, you know, help with free workshops in the area. Maybe you're not entirely sure how to refer, you're not sure what SignHealth is. You know, the workshops, we can tailor them to you. We can tell them to, you know, what is healthy, what isn't healthy, all kinds of things depending on the audience. Also, you know, there's all kinds of abuse that goes on, you know, like, well, you know, we talk about technical abuse and all kinds of things. There's no catch to these workshops. They are absolutely free to participants. I know. You should be thinking, what? No, you don't get anything. No, vote for no, but you absolutely do. There's no hidden gender here. We have a range of BSL videos that are on our website. They are just free to access. It might be that, you know, you can offer them to a deaf person to be able to, you know, help them understand. Maybe you know, you're working in social services and you think that this might be an issue for somebody and you're not sure, then you can show them the videos to help them understand if this is what they're going through. Also, we do deaf awareness sessions for organisations, you know, who refer clients to us. You know, if you can contact us, and then we can give you those deaf awareness sessions. But also, you know, anybody can refer to us, and so after those referrals, it might mean that you'd like to know more about the deaf community and how you can help them. So maybe a client comes to you for the first time, and it's like, we don't want you to be reactive in this situation. We want people to be proactive, to be able to look at providing this information, knowing what's going on, knowing how to signpost, knowing how to refer, knowing all of this information actually before they arrive, so that you're prepared for them. We've got plenty of information that is prepared on the website that you can look through as well. The best thing to do as well when a deaf person comes to you is to ask them what's their communication mode. How do they prefer to communicate? Do they need an interpreter? We need them to feel safe. We need them to feel that wherever they are and when they're talking to you, that this is a safe space. And I know that many people panic. You know, you say that, you know, oh my gosh, I've got to book an interpreter. How do I do that? Where do I get them from? What do I do? We're there to help you, to signpost you so that you know where to go and how to get the right service. Can we go to the emergency page for me? Emergency page. One. 999, the one with the 999 number on it. No, you don't have that one.
Yeah, I don't think we have that one.
Oh, okay. Not to worry, not to worry. I can send you the slides, which has got some really good information. It's in emergency numbers. So there's a 999 BSL, which means that basically you can, a deaf person can register. It's an app. They download the app, they register, and then it means they can just click the app and then they are connected to the 999 service, connected through an interpreter. Basically, straight away on their phone, there's an interpreter there asking them which service do you want, police service, fire, ambulance, and they're straight away there offering that in their own language straight away. So it could be when you meet a client, you need to make sure the client has the app, 999 app, on their phone, that they're downloaded and that they're registered. That's really important. I just want to link into the interpreters that I was saying. So, you know, there's some very sensitive topics, some very, you know, people are going to disclose some very sensitive information. And so when we're booking an interpreter for that situation, we need to book a registered, qualified interpreter, somebody who's registered with the National Register of Communication Professionals with Deaf People. We need to make sure that we're not booking a trainee or somebody who says, oh, I can sign, I'm a signer, you know, that they have communication sign language and conversational sign language skills. This process is really in depth. And if you're not getting somebody who's registered and qualified, they're not then bound by the same code of ethics. They're not bound by the same complaints procedure. They're not insured. So we need to be making sure, you know, that I mean, if the situation went to court and then it was discovered that they didn't have a skilled interpreter, then it could all get thrown out. And I need to let you know that there aren't many of them. So you need to book really in advance of the situation. It can be very difficult to get an interpreter because there are so few and they're in such high demand. It's also a good idea to ask the deaf client if they have a preferred interpreter. It might be that, again, the interpreter world is very small and many of the deaf community know those interpreters and they said, oh, I don't want that interpreter because I want somebody I don't know, because I don't want them to know all about my, you know, my situation. So again, we need to ask, you know, are you comfortable working with this person? And then asking the interpreter as well to let them know this is the situation. It's a domestic abuse situation. Are you comfortable working in that scenario, in that genre? And also, the best thing as well, you know, is when you're sitting down with somebody, especially if you don't have that communication interpreter with you, is to be very clear about the jargon that you're using. If you're having to write things down, looking at the jargon, a lot of our clients don't really understand, you know, English is not their first language. We need it to be written down very plainly. We need the, you know, the jargonless version of this so that they can access that information. Can we have the next slide, please? Excuse me. I think I've covered quite a lot of this, haven't I, really? About meeting, trying to have some empathy, really looking and understanding. They're very overwhelmed. It might be the deaf person, their first language. It could be their first language BSL. It could be that their first language is a foreign sign language, if they're from a different community, and we really don't know. So you might have to looking for a Polish sign language interpreter or Ukrainian sign language interpreter, and that's going to be even harder. So, you're going to have to be really proactive in this. And throughout all of that, reassuring our clients that they're in a safe space. And also it's about looking at their needs and not your expectations of how you're going to go through these forms or whatever it is you're going to do, but looking and meeting them where they are. Can we have the next page, please? Thank you. So what can you do to support the deaf community? We've said be empathic, compassionate, and above all, patient. Make sure that your organization becomes deaf friendly. That, for example, if the only way to access your service is through a phone call, and you don't have text service, then that's really difficult. Or maybe you say you have to do everything through the online forms. Again, that's English jargon. That's really difficult for a deaf person to access. So making sure that your services are accessible. And repeating what I said before, really, researching where you can look for interpreters, look for advice. And if you don't know, ask us. We are more than happy to signpost you and to help you look for those services. And we would love to help you become a better support for the deaf community by providing deaf awareness training for your organization. Can we have the next page, please? Right, that one. Thank you, Stephen. So people can self-refer to our services, or they can be referred. You are able to contact us. You can contact us together or by themselves or without them. First of all, we have the deaf persons, the helpline. We recently have an online video service as a deaf referral. So maybe they don't, they don't want to be seen on the camera, and so they're happy to text. So we have both of those options. And then are we on to the next slide?
I think that's just the final slide.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yen. Yen, that has been really challenging and really informative. It's given us a lot to think about. So thank you for your time. And thank you to all of you for coming along and listening. Just as a signpost, our next spotlight session is going to be on Monday, the 12th of January at 2 o'clock, and that's going to be delivered by Victim Support. So Becky McAdams of Victim Support will be talking to us about their services and how we can signpost onto them. So I think that just about brings us to an end. I will make sure that tomorrow, Thursday, we will send out a copy of Yen's slides, plus also any other information that we think might be helpful for you. And there'll also be a link to be able to sign up to that next spotlight session.
And can I just come in with one more thing?
Yes, of course.
Just one more thing. Sorry, Stephen. I just need to let you know we have a QR code, so there's some feedback. So generally, if people want to, let you put your email number on, which is great. But it'd be great to have your feedback to say what else you would have liked me to present them on, or if you thought, oh goodness, that was all rubbish, Yen, that kind of thing. It would be really helpful for me, just to know what kind of information people want and what's useful to people. So if you don't mind, there's the QR code for the feedback. That would be really great.
And how do people get access to that QR code? Are you going to put that in the chat, or Yen, will you send that to me to send out with the email?
I'll send it out on email if that's okay.
Okay.
If you send it out with the slides. Actually, I could put it in the chat now, maybe. Bear with me. I'll try and do that while you carry on.
Okay. All right. So so that just brings us to an end. I think I was saying just to give us some feedback about how you're finding ReferKent and any improvements that you would like to see to make it easier and more effective for you. Again, I'll put the link to that in the email that I send out this week. Okay, Jan, if you could let me have a copy of that QR code, I'll make sure that goes out with the email.
Great, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Thank you to everyone for coming along, and hopefully see you all again soon.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thanks now. Bye.
Bye-bye.